meeting called to order. All members present, I'd like to welcome back Dr. Guth to in-person. We're glad to have you back. No public comment or hearing session? Adjourn to closed session. convene to open session. Mr. Burton will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Report on action taken in closed session. There was no action taken in closed session. Call for an adoption of the agenda. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Programs and presentations. Our first presentation, Ms. Kern.
Testing. Okay. So, good evening, school board, cabinet. I want to take this opportunity to thank Sam Burton for serving our community as a PVUSD school board member for the past 5 years. Sam Burton attended Palo Verde Unified School District as a student and is a proud Palo Verde High School graduate. He was elected to the Palo Verde Unified School District Governing Board in 2015 and appointed PVUSD Governing Board Clerk for the year of 2020. Mr. Sam Burton, we appreciate you and your service to our community, and I would like to offer a plaque of a symbol of our appreciation and gratitude to your service.
Our next presentation will be on internet connectivity. Janine's going to get Mr. Roverino on the line.
Hey, Steve.
Hi, Steve. This is Janine with PVUSD. We have you live at our governing board meeting. Ready when you are.
Hi, Jane. I'm ready. Good evening, everybody.
So Steve, can you go ahead and give the board an overview of the project that we've been discussing for Palo Verde Unified School District?
Absolutely. Yeah, just a little bit of background of my company and what we've been doing. Red Rover is a system integrator, but of most interest to the discussion tonight is back in 2012, we started a practice of looking and developing what we call private LTE networks, and specifically in the educational marketplace. And what we find is private educational LTE networks are data or internet LTE networks specifically built and owned and operated by school districts. So we would help the school districts, much like we're suffering now with distance learning, a lot of rural areas like in Central California or further south of you, like in El Centro and Imperial County, where they're struggling to get just basic broadband to students' homes. Either the economic problem when students couldn't afford internet at home, or it's just that, you know, the ability to find cost-effective internet from other providers is just not possible. So some of the systems we built were, we did 12 cell towers down in Imperial County, Office of Education. We did a private-public partnership with Desert Sands in building out their LTE network. And we have probably about another 8 to 10 LTE networks that we built throughout Central California in the rural farmlands out there. So, of course, with the distance learning requirements, I got contacted by Eric Calderon from the Riverside County Office of Education, and he had a couple school districts that he was most concerned about in the eastern part of the county in trying to develop good cost-effective means to get broadband to students' homes. So we've been talking for a couple months now with Palo Verde in regard to their requirements, where some of their students are located, and what's a possibility. So through those discussions, what we developed a plan in looking at, I believe it's 4 school sites throughout the city there, where we'll be putting, they call it small cell technology, or little cell towers on top of school buildings, gymnasiums, multi-purpose rooms, and then using that as a hop-off point to push 4G LTE signals into the community. In turn, the students would have devices at their homes that would receive this signal and allow them internet access at home. And because it's attached to the school's network, the filtering is the same as the kids have on campus. So all the sites that are blocked, all the special filtering information would be basically replicated across the LTE network into the student homes. That's kind of the high level of what we're looking at. In fact, tomorrow the guy used for installation is going to be on site looking at the 4 locations and coming up with a game plan of how to physically install all that equipment out there. We know CARES Act money is critical and the timing is short, but we're pretty confident that we can have this system deployed probably within 30 to 45 days, so well within the requirements of year-end deployment. That make sense?
Any questions from the board regarding this project?
No, I don't. Anybody have any questions? Dr. Guth? No, it's just an exciting project for the kids in our community.
And there's an action item that is piggyback platform for us to be able to utilize to start moving forward with this project.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else you wanted to share, Steve?
No, I'm open to questions. It doesn't sound like there's many. In addition to Palo Verde, we're also working with Coachella Valley, so just due west of you, in a similar type proposal. So, we've, like I said, we've done quite a few of these, and we know what the requirements are and how best to execute. So, we'll definitely want to keep it cost effective and successful for the district.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Right.
No problem. Thanks for the quick call. Have a great evening.
Good night.
All right, our next presentation, we have Miss Genevieve Hahn, our athletics director.
Good evening, and thank you for having me here tonight. I just wanted to share out some information from Palo Verde High School athletics. As you may know, we are part of the CIF San Diego section. We are in the Southeastern Conference, and that's comprised of the Imperial Valley League and Desert League. So with that being said, we do have some concerns as it pertains to sports as we get started. In July, CIF State Office adjusted the seasons of sport to 2 seasons. So we have a fall condensed season with a delayed start at this time for CIF San Diego section. Each section makes their own master calendar. So in August, CIF San Diego section put ours out. At this time, the tentative start date contingent on a safe reopening according to the state and county is December 12th for our fall sports, including football, volleyball, cross country, boys and girls cross country, and our sideline cheer would fall in that category as well. So that's season 1. When CIF condensed the seasons into 2 seasons, that's going to be our other challenge if and when we get into sports this year. Season 2 would begin in February with golf and soccer, and then all other sports beginning in March, on March 13th. Now, those start dates, again, are tentative and contingent on a safe reopening plan by the state and the county. At this time, as of this evening, I had a conversation with the Assistant Commissioner of CIF San Diego section. There has been no guidance from the state. So in terms of our tiers and a plan for reopening and what that means for sports, that has not been provided by the state to my knowledge. According to the COVID-19 industry guidance, schools and school-based programs, that's the latest update we have in regards to sports for schools on August 3rd, and that says that outdoor and indoor sporting activities are not permitted at this time. That being said, that is pertaining a lot to the competitions and the big events that would be conducive to gatherings. So that being said, there has been some guidance from the county public health in regards to youth sports cohorting and 14 and 2, to my knowledge, where sports and conditioning can take place. You may have heard from some of the schools in the Riverside County that are starting on-campus conditioning. That is happening for schools in Riverside County with the approval of their school board. Riverside County, one of our concerns and one of the issues that we have in being part of CIF San Diego section is that San Diego section makes up San Diego County, Imperial County, and then we're the lone duck out here in Riverside County. So that presents some problems in case certain counties open before other counties in regards to sports. In Riverside County, Desert Sands Unified School District has started, as of last week, some on-campus conditioning. I'm told that maybe some of the Coachella Valley schools are going to try and get that going soon if their board approves. So conditioning is happening with the cohorting. In the Imperial Valley, which is our league, I was told that no conditioning is happening whatsoever on campus. Now, there is a distinction between the CIF San Diego section and the CIF Southern section that allows for this club activity to happen on campus in those other Riverside County schools, and the school takes the liability. Because here at Palo Verde, we are part of the CIF San Diego section, that bylaw does not allow us to have school sports until the date on the master calendar, which at the earliest, that would be December 12th for the fall sports. So we have some restrictions there, but the schedules are set based on that master calendar. So at this time, I've been continuing to plan accordingly. In August, when the master calendar was set out and we realigned the league, I met with my AD meeting down in the valley, and we meet monthly, and we were working to redo our league schedule. So we had to redo all the schedules and games. Most of our games, because of the concerns we're going to have with transportation, we were trying to, in our scheduling, scale back. So most of our games are pretty much league games with added games, non-league games against Imperial Valley School opponents. So there is concern that if we open before them or they open before us or vice versa, and even we have a few matches in San Diego on the regular schedule, that there would be limits based on the different counties, and we may not have the games or seasons or the schedule. We're hopeful. In the month of October, not a lot of information was provided by CIF. Again, in talking with the Assistant Commissioner tonight, they're looking for updates from the state. It's the state of California that this COVID industry guidance has set that no events and competitions are happening. So the schools that are having maybe club teams come on campus, or there's the outside of outside of the school club teams happening, they're going out of state to compete right now. So there is some concern there with, for us, being so isolated that, you know, getting our kids physically conditioned and ready for the start of the season is a huge concern for us right now. Because one of our restrictions in being in CIF San Diego section, where we are stuck on that at the earliest, that December 12th start date, and then two, having the club sports restrictions. We also, in scheduling, because Arizona has started their seasons as planned, there are some loss of games there for some of the sports where we would typically go play a few games in Arizona. And even if our seasons match up, where our winter and spring are now going to be our season 2, starting in February, March, you know, I had a baseball tournament contact me if we wanted to play. We played last year, but our season still starts 3 weeks later. So the start date is very set based on that calendar. So we have concerns in getting the number of games and just making sure our kids are ready, and transportation because of the crossover of the multiple CIF sections, multiple CIF counties. Again, in October, we didn't get a lot of information from CIF or my league meetings. I do have an AD meeting next week where I'm hoping that we can get more information, but really CIF is awaiting the state to make a decision about our sporting events allowed. So we're hopeful of the December 12th start date, but you know, it's up in the air and yet to be determined. In the meantime, at the school site, I have been continuing to have kids register. We have the online athletic clearance, which has been very helpful in getting kids registered. I initially set early on in the fall a deadline of this Friday for the fall sports now. So we have a lot of kids registering, turning in their physicals, because we just want to be as prepared as possible when the time comes. We also kicked off our Gold Card fundraiser on Thursday, October 29th. It runs through November 13th. Typically, that is for the football team. This year, we decided to go with all interested PV student athletes who are interested in selling and helping support our program, and also supporting the local Blythe communities by purchasing the card and, you know, contributing to those businesses. The gold cards, there are safety measures in place. We are doing things a little bit differently this year because we cannot have the face-to-face sales. So gold cards are contactless sales through an app on the phone that kids download and register. When they share out their link, people can buy the card, and then they put their mailing address in there, purchase it, credit card sales only, and then the card will be delivered in early to mid-December to their house by mail. So we have safety measures in place. As of tonight, we're at 43% of our goal of 1,300 cards, so we've sold 564 cards. If we sell the 1,300, we have potential to make $15,000 for athletics. Now, whether we meet that goal or not, we still wanted to go ahead and move forward with this, with where we were at, so we can at least get some money coming in and be ready for tournament fees, equipment, updated weight room equipment, things like that. So we're going to continue to push that out till November 13th, contactless sales. I also wanted to share with you that at the beginning of the year, we did some research when sports weren't happening into esports, and CIF has an initiative to offer esports through a platform called PlayVS. So we found a few teachers. I'd like to thank Mr. Minton, Ms. PJ Johnson, and Mr. Holquin for taking on and spearheading our esports at Palo Verde High School. We began the club in October, and this club is where students can compete using their personal game consoles at home and internet connections to play against other schools in California in the Rocket League. The Rocket League is a form of electronic soccer. Teams of 3 with alternates have met virtually twice a week for about an hour after school to scrimmage, practice, and compete. Coaches have seen academic gains in many students and a high level of engagement in this activity, which requires perhaps a different skill set than the physical ones involved in traditional sports. To this date, we have approximately 15 active players mentored weekly by 3 PV teachers, and the record is 3-3. The esports club has also competed in approximately 12 scrimmages with other regional area schools and looks forward to a successful fall season and attempting to replicate and expand during the subsequent spring season. Efforts are underway to make the esports an ASB club and perhaps even do a fundraiser at some point. So I just wanted to bring attention to that because those teachers have taken that role on, and we've got some different kids involved that way. Again, all safe and all virtual for now. This year, typically, they don't allow the kids to work remotely from home, but this year that is happening, so we decided to take advantage of it because it was also about a 99% discount on the cost of setting that up through PlayVS. So I wanted to make note of that. And let's see. I think our big concerns for the board is just, again, we are awaiting guidance from the state and the CIF. It's all of California. Like I said, I've been sitting in on different webinars and trainings on Zoom and whatnot, and there's concerns amongst all ADs. Again, as much as we can plan and prepare and be hopeful we are. I've continued to communicate with the district and, getting the coaches on board and, getting our orders underway so we're ready for the season when it begins. But as far as guidance from the board, I guess I'm asking if we get the guidance from the state, is it possible that we have already stated that the high school won't go back until January. I'm wondering if we're able to begin sports on campus at the high school in December potentially to gradually get the kids acclimated, if that's a go by the state. So that's something to consider. I'm not looking for a response now. It's just something we are concerned about because of the physical conditioning with being 7 months off. Football is a very high impact, physical activity. By the CIF standards, the kids have to have 14 team practices and 10 individual practices in order to be eligible in a game. So we have roughly 3.5 weeks if we did start on December 12th, and our first game being January 8th. So for football, it's 10 practices. For the other sports, it's 5 before they compete. Now, again, us starting would be contingent on all sports and all teams going, but the sooner we can get on campus, I think, would help if it's a go by the CIF and the state. So we're just concerned about that. And then a couple other concerns in moving forward if we...
Let me speak to that for a second. Okay. Part of also understanding that part of that decision is going to be based on what tier we are in. Mm-hmm. Right now we're in the most restrictive tier, so there would definitely, we would have to consult with public health, and it would be a added public health decision about that as well. And note that because we are in the San Diego section, most of our gameplay is with Imperial, and Imperial has been in purple for quite some time. Their numbers are not looking good, and they probably will remain in purple for quite some time. Mm-hmm. So that definitely will be impacting our ability to play other teams as well. So it's a very complex situation, and we'll continue to keep you updated. And there's no easy answer in the meantime. Kind of what we're doing with school reopening is planning for the hope of if it's possible in the future.
Okay.
Any questions from the board at this point?
No, thank you for all the hard work you're doing, not knowing that if it's going to happen or not.
Thank you. And so I will continue to update you. Like I said, I have an AD meeting next week, and I'm hoping we have the CIF staff there, and we're hopeful that we'll get some answers from the state. But in the meantime, we're just going to continue to push and plan and get the kids registered, and then if we get to a point where we can come back, the other concern I just wanted to address so that you guys are aware that makes it complex is the transportation. If there are social distancing requirements in regards to transportation, if we need to, we may need to have some guidance in terms of roster size and limits there if we're going to scale back, because we again have scaled back on the games within the league. So we're looking at the baseline to be eligible, potentially for playoffs or whatever we can get, but baseline number of games we've scaled back, but transportation is a major concern if and when we get going. So I just wanted to bring that up and If there's any other questions, I can take those, or any other questions about source?
Everybody's at the whim of the state.
Okay, thank you for your time, and don't forget to buy your gold card.
Thank you. All right. Our next presentation, we have Mr. Jesse Gutierrez with Nutrition Services.
Thank you, everyone. So what I want to update you all on is the bulk feeding, the turnout, how it went. As many of you heard or possibly saw, we had a great turnout. The community as a whole was coming out, where that's curbside, at the bus stops. Big thing was, even though we increased our numbers, the turnout that we had was so high that there's a couple things that we're already planning on adjusting for tomorrow to make sure that everything can go in an easy way as possible. So a couple things that we're doing is this. When it came to curbside pickup, having one site only, the weight and the traffic that it caused, it was one of those things where a lot of cars, what they'll do is follow the vans and buses at the stop. So our numbers at the bus stops were on average in the last 8 months, we had like 2 or 3 kids. We had like 20 kids, 30 kids, if not more. So by being able to open up every elementary as a curbside location, that's something that can help out in terms of the wait time. And then when it comes to the bus routes, it can keep the actual numbers how it was in the past. Even if it increased a little bit, we can make sure that there's enough room to accommodate all the meal boxes as well as milk in each vehicle. Something else that we've had a chance to do is each site, a big thing in our case is in order to be able to open it up and be able to assemble boxes, the staff that we require, it increased significantly. So we had a chance to talk to every site and get additional staff to come in and help us out at each site. So this allows us to be able to serve at each specific school. And that's something that's helping us out significantly. Something else that we're doing too is when it comes to the vehicles and assuring that we have enough food for every stop. We're incorporating a big bus in the mix too, in terms of we had a chance to identify stops that it can accommodate for a big bus. That big bus is going to have a chance to cover some of the stops from additional routes. So it'll give the other routes a chance to, if they require to get additional meals, to go back, get additional meals, and go back on the route. The route schedule and the stops, it's still going to remain the same. That's not going to change. And another concern too is in terms of the quantity. So this week we increased our quantity significantly just to assure that we can provide meals for every child that is out at a stop. However, for those kids that, for whatever reason, they did not have an opportunity to get a meal, we want to make sure that week they'll have an opportunity to get a meal. So I was able to create a meal voucher ID card, where in terms of if it comes down to it, if for whatever reason there's a route or we don't have enough meals, each kid is going to be given a meal voucher card. They're going to have a specific date, time, and place to go and get this box, a meal box. So that was the biggest, so that's the biggest thing that we're trying to do is in terms of figure out everything that we can do in terms of like our count. We increase it significantly, but for whatever reason, if the count still continues to go up, we want to have an option for the kids to be able to go out and pick up a box. And that's the biggest thing. And then once again, I want to emphasize to all of our staff and everyone all around their support in order to assure that this is a possibility. The bulk feeding has been a really big help, and that goes for everyone. So thank you. Any questions by any chance?
I want to say that I heard a tremendous positive feedback from it.
Thank you.
You know, just indirectly. And they were like, man, and they said, whatever you put in them boxes is amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was like, can I buy one? No, they really, they said that, you know, that the detail that you put into it.
Thank you.
That even if the kids are at home and nobody's there to cook, there's things that they can eat until somebody comes to them.
Yes.
So I want to commend you on that, sir.
Thank you.
Or your staff and everybody there.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions? No? No? Yeah, I heard nothing but positive feedback also, second what Sam said, so thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next presentation, we have the Technology Department projects with Tim Slagan and Lois Schaefer.
Good evening, board members and Ms. Kern and community that's watching. We just want to give you an update on the tech department. And I'm going to say we a lot of times, but please know I'm the royal we. This is Tim Slagan and Kyle who is doing all this work. I'm just the person who approves the orders and things like that. We got a bunch of new laptops for teachers, and as they need them, we're replacing their old Surface Pros and their old Dell laptops. The prison donated some desktops, and again, as teachers would like a desktop rather than a laptop, we get one to them. We as Tim and Kyle, not me. If a desktop comes from the prison, it does not have a camera. That's probably a good thing. Webcams are being added. The virtual machine failed. So Tim worked with RCOE to migrate the VMs, repair the VM2, and rebuild the failed backup domain controller. Tim is here to interpret for me. I don't even know what that means. What does that mean, Tim?
Essentially, a virtual machine, we have 3 of them on site. They're basically very large, powerful servers that house many smaller servers within them. It allows for virtualization, so instead of having physical hardware to support these things, we virtualize them, makes it easier to support. One of those systems failed. We were able to migrate the servers that are on that virtual machine off of it, repair the virtual machine, move everything back, get us all back up and running. Work with RCOE very closely to handle that.
We were having trouble with our Zoom freezing and dropping, so we added Zoom to our firewall to make that, again, I keep saying we, added Zoom to our firewall to make the connection smoother so that our students and our teachers weren't being dropped nearly as often. CalPADS Day, used to be called CBEDS Day, Census Day, was October 7th. We're using the National School Lunch Program data. We're using, that's from NutriKids, their database. We're loading it into Aries and making sure that all of the CalPAD certification reports are smooth. And is that special ed too?
Yes.
Yeah, special ed has now been added to that, so there's been a lot of work with special ed department and with Tim and his department to connect everything and make CalPADs work right for us so that our reports are correct. We ordered a bunch of new dot cams so that teachers can show their work to the students through their virtual classrooms. We received VGA adapters to enable secondary monitors for teacher Surface Pros and laptops, and again, my interpreter Tim's going to explain what that means. VGA?
Yeah, basically, teachers using just a laptop or a Surface Pro in their classroom, it's a very small screen. They want to have their GoGuardian sessions up. They want to have their DotCam sessions up as well as their Zoom sessions up. We needed a whole bunch of adapters to allow that to happen so that teachers can run secondary monitors off of their desktops, off of their surfaces. Those came in. We're divvying those out as they're required.
We've ordered and received 764 new Chromebooks to replace broken and soon-to-be end-of-life models. We've distributed 581 Verizon hotspots. That's 20% of our students have gotten a hotspot from the district. Some students have more than one student in their house, so it's at the homes of more than 20% of our students, but 20% of our students have checked out a hotspot. I think that's amazing. Tim and Kyle have set up testing rooms at the Blythe Middle School area for special ed testing and also for the LPAC testing, the initial testing for our English learners. The main router at Ruth Brown died, and so Tim worked with RCOE to replace it with an Aruba Layer 3 switch. Interpreter?
Basically, a router is a traffic cop for a network. It takes incoming signals and it tells those signals where to go. That failed at Ruth Brown, which is why they were down for most of last Thursday and Friday, or Friday and Monday. Worked with RCOE, we were able to take one of our current switches that we have and turn that into a router to get Ruth Brown up and running. I think they were down Friday afternoon. We got them back up and running at about 6 o'clock Monday, or
Yeah, around
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
That was another thing we had to work with RCOE pretty closely to handle, but we got them back up.
Yep. We listed the technology tickets for August. There were 178 tickets completed. September, 94 tickets, and October, 64 tickets. Of course, at the beginning of the year, there are lots of requests for help. But what I want to point out is those are the tickets that have gone through the technology system. That doesn't count phone calls, emails, or even, hey, while you're here, can you fix this for me? That happens all the time. The tech department is busy all the time, and we just wanted to give you an update of what's going on. Any questions?
Questions? No, just thank you so much for all the hard work. I just can't imagine what you've been going through with all these kids
Yeah.
online every day.
Definitely.
All right, our next presentation, we have Mr. Steve Stiers with our district facilities update.
I'm gonna smell the smell of my steak. Just touch the sides.
Good evening, school board. I'm going to give you an update on facilities maintenance and operation. From September to October, maintenance operations has serviced 354 work orders throughout the district at different sites. Our Head Start project for the security project is now finished and up in operations. As for disinfecting throughout the school district, custodial staff is still using the spray carts, disinfecting chemicals. We're still disinfecting every classroom, every hallway, every desk, every chair throughout all the sites, nightly and daily, as staff is scheduled to do. Our middle school project, the abatement has been accomplished and done. We have moved into the phase to where we are starting to remodel and make the upgrades we need for the district office move. Our warehousing and purchasing department has processed 258 requisitions, 884 boxes from July 4th or July 2020 to the current date. Has also processed 191 Galaxy purchase orders, delivered 1,587 boxes throughout the district from July 2020 to current date. Our OneSource we have processed with OneSource 50 purchase orders from July 2020 to current date. The grand total of 242,471 boxes delivered from July to current date through our warehouse. 2,333 items that were tagged and cataloged throughout our warehouse and through our school systems. Our barn project update, we are getting closer. We are down to working with Mr. Sanders Engineering on pins and animal pins. We have solved our problems with our water systems throughout the barn. And we do still have a few little electrical items we're working on, but we are moving closer to a finish date on that and getting to do a final walk on that project. And that concludes for FMOT. Do we have any questions?
Questions? No. Thank you for everything.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right. Our next presentation is Ms. Kern with school reopening update.
Yeah, go ahead. So we're going to call in to some people to help with the updates for the school reopening. I do want to say that currently we are in negotiations with our employee associations regarding in-person instruction. We're discussing the modified shortened day schedules for when we can
Hi, Cindy, can you hold?
move forward
I'm gonna get Edward.
with in-person instruction. And our county so we're getting ready to, when our county does return to red, we're currently in purple, which is the most restrictive tier. In this tier, we can move forward with small cohort groups, in particular looking at bringing special ed students in life skill and severe handicap back in specified groups. And so Edward will give us an update about this. And Cindy, the coordinator with Head Start preschool program, will give us an update on where we are with the schedules and process for possible bringing students back in person. So Edward, you want to go ahead and give an update?
That's a good evening, Board, Superintendent Kern, and audience. Here tonight, I'm going to provide an update in terms of what we're doing for our special ed students, or what they are calling a small cohorts that we're addressing. So what we have, and I know that Cindy is here on phone as well. So let's start with the preschool in terms of what we're doing there. For the preschool, we have a great plan in terms of providing 2 different cohorts. We have small groups. We have groups of 4 initially. We have an A group, which is a Monday, Thursday, and then a Tuesday, Friday, which is a B cohort. And then Friday's off. It gives us the opportunity to go in and do some deep cleaning. So each cohort is about 4 kids, but we have about 9 kind of in the process of being assessed. So from that, we're anticipating at least 4 qualified. So we would put those cohorts at some point as we start this process at 6 each. And could either be a little larger, but not much larger, or a little smaller, but not much smaller. But that's what we're looking for, just 2 cohorts. There will be those students, which 4 right now identified in each one of those 2 groups. We have 1 teacher and 2 paraeducators. So we're allowed to have up to 16, and we're way under that in terms of starting our special ed program at the preschool. We will start at 8:30. We will have a break about 9:30, and then students will be released at 11:30, and we will provide them with a lunch. We do have some opportunity for them to go out to the playground and have some activities. And again, we are not mixing our cohorts in any way. They will not interact with the other groups. They will be independent, in terms of being out there and all the different activities that we provide. Did you want me to talk about elementary and high school as well?
Just where you are with the planning of it, since we're doing it in a phased, staged approach. Just to give a brief overview, please.
Okay. So, and again, looking at the small cohorts for the elementary, and I'll start there. We're looking for our more severe populations, and that is we have a classroom over at Ruth Brown and 2 over at the high school. Those are the groups that we're looking in terms of providing services. Those are a little larger groups. Again, looking at an A group, and that probably consists of about 8 students. We do have potentially 5 adults in those settings to provide those services a little larger, like I said. That, again, it's under the requirement. I think we're at 13 for an A cohort, and then 14 for a B cohort, and again, not having school on Wednesdays. Again, allow us to do a deeper cleaning and making sure that we provide all the PPE. And again, we don't have a start date for that group. We're just having those conversations in terms of providing that services. We are talking to the teachers in terms of what students will or are interested in coming for in-person instruction. And fortunately, most of the students in that particular setting have stated that they do want to come in and, do the in-person education. So we're grateful for that, and we have a lot of interest in that with that population. Moving on to the high school, we have 2 different settings, and it's a little bit different there. The interest is not as popular as it is for the elementary. So we have in our life skills class, we have probably a third of the students right now that are interested, which makes it about 4 students that are interested in doing the in-person instruction. And then the rest would be, and that's 6, there's 10 students in that classroom, so 6 of them want to do a virtual process. Moving on to our life skills class, and that classroom, most of those students are interested in. Right now there's 12 students in that setting. We think there's 10, and 2 that are kind of hesitating. Yes, one day, no, the next day. But again, we do have interest in that, and we will probably be, once we start at full capacity, 12 students in that setting, and be providing. We don't have as many instructional aides in that setting. We do have 1 teacher and 2 paraprofessionals, and those groups would be divided again probably 5 with 3 adults, so those cohorts would be 8. We will not be mixing those cohorts either. Again, we will keep those separated so that we don't cross-contaminate it anyway, and then just keeping those classrooms as clean as possible with deep cleaning on Wednesdays and really trying to keep, not only the students safe, but staff safe, and then that we're, very conscious of what's going on with this COVID virus and making sure that people are safe within those instructional programs. That's my update, and let me add, though, in terms of the in-person testing, just to let you know that is going tremendously well. We do have one outside consultant that's coming into the district and testing, and in fact, she's here today. She was here today and doing, I think she's up to 12 students testing for academic testing, and then we have staff to do the other school sites. So we're in a real good position to complete, the academic testing and the cognitive testing for all our students. We did have 41. We're down to 20 right now. So we've already reduced it by 21 and holding IEPs as we go along. So that's the update in terms of where we're at for special education. Any questions?
No. Thank you, Edward.
And for Head Start program, and to kind of review the model that of in-person instruction and the hybrid model, Cindy's going to give us an update.
Hello, everyone. To kind of start with, I'll just let you know we have 85 students enrolled in the Head Start program currently. We've been surveying families to find out if they want to return in person or if they want to continue virtually. We have about 61 who want to return in person. So we've kind of created a plan around that. We have 4 full-day classrooms, and what we would plan is having one of those remain virtual, have the 3 others be in person in a reduced, modified day. It would be shorter, 4.5 hours per day, Monday through Friday. This allows the cleaning after the program, after the children are gone. It also allows for the teachers to have their breaks and lunch before and after, so we don't have multiple staff coming in. We can keep those groups consistent. We would have no more than 10 children. It would be 1 teacher and 1 aide with those 10 children. They would also have an outdoor time. We have it broken up so that each class has their own outdoors time, and there's cleaning. We have it scheduled so there's cleaning in between. When from one class to another. So there's time in there for the disinfecting of any materials used. We also have some fresh air breaks scheduled in so that the kids we're maximizing that 4.5 hours that they're here. We're getting them as much outside time as possible. And then we have 3 part-day programs. And originally we had said that we would do all of those in person, but because of the newest numbers that we have, it looks like we'll need to have one of those be virtual as well. But for the in-person, they would be a modified day. Typically, they're 3.5 hours. We would reduce those to 2.5 hours, and we would have a morning program and then an afternoon program. The reduced hours allows a good cleaning in between, and then also the breaks and lunch for the teachers. They're also same thing with the playground schedule. There's plenty of time to clean. We've got that scheduled in, cleaning in between. We did hit a few bumps with physicals. Our children we have a requirement to have yearly physicals, and we just found out towards the end of last week that we're really behind. And what we're getting from parents is that the doctors in town are just not taking, they're not making well appointments at this point. We've had some conversations with with the school nurses, reached out to them, and we think that we're getting somewhere. And we've gotten the last 2 days, we've gotten more feedback from the parents that they are making those appointments. So we're hoping between now and November 30th or early December we can get most of those physicals done so that children can come on campus. So we do have 30 kids right now out of 61 that could possibly come in person. We have 30 that need physicals. So if we can get those all to happen, it looks like we could move forward. It's really going to depend on whether families can get into the doctors or not, or we come up with something else. Let's see.
Is there any questions so far from any of the board members?
Yeah, would you be moving forward on the 30 that do have physicals, or do you have to wait until all 60 have physicals in order to reopen?
News, even today, we got kind of more updates. But what I was going to suggest is that we open the classes. If there's a majority of children that do have their physicals, we could open 1 or 2 classes and then bring the others, in person when we have the majority of those physicals done.
Okay, so would that be the direction of the board to move forward in smaller cohorts and be progressive in our nature as the students are getting those required elements completed, then we would enroll them into the preschool setting?
I would say
Okay.
the sooner we can get them back, the better. If you can get half of them back, get half of them back. That's just mine.
Any other questions about the program so far? Any other updates, Cindy? Thank you very much. Do you have any other information to add?
I'm just looking through my notes and the overview really quickly. The only other thing was we were going to make sure that opening the SDC class on site, children, if they are in the SDC class, would go there in person and they would receive their general education virtually, so that we're not having those, children mix into different cohorts as well. So I think that was about it, unless anyone has any questions.
Thank you.
So the last update is our progress towards the elementary school, which is really going to determine our ability to then start to apply for the TK through 6 waiver, as well as that's still a negotiated item as well.
Hi, Karina, it's Janine. Hi.
So Karina de la Peña will give an overview of the schedule that we formulated to think about being able to have students return to campus. And we would probably utilize this, depending on negotiations, to apply for the TK through 6 waiver. So do you want to give an overview of the schedule, Karina? Karina, are you on the line?
Yeah. Hi, good evening, and cabinet members. The schedule that you have in front of you, it basically is a schedule that we put together after receiving some feedback from teachers. And this schedule focuses on continue to providing instruction via Zoom to all students from 9 a.m. to 12:05. The reason we decided to go with this schedule is because for elementary schools it is very difficult to get coverage for teachers when teachers are sick, and in the event that more than 2 teachers get sick, or 2 or more teachers get sick, it would be very difficult for us to cover the classes, and we would have to disturb the students' learning once more. So we felt that having the 9 o'clock to 12:05 for all students attending via Zoom would be the least, would affect the least, would affect the students the least. So in this schedule, we do have hybrid. However, it's not the traditional hybrid. We would have Group A come in Monday and Tuesday from 1 to 3 p.m. and we would have our students come in several times, and then Group B come in on Thursday and Friday. Wednesdays would be utilized for teachers to prep, but we would also have a check-in in the morning from 9 to 10 for attendance, and then classroom community building activities from 9 a.m. to 10. And we would also make sure that the teachers have enough prep time because in the schedule that we are proposing, the teachers do the Zoom instruction in the morning, and then they do the hybrid face-to-face in the afternoon.
Okay, any questions or feedback from the board regarding this schedule?
And this will be, if we were able to get the waiver for the TK through 6, this would be the model that we would use.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're able to get into the red for 2 consecutive
Or,
weeks, then
right.
we begin the schedule. The other part of the schedule is
We want to, health and safety first is always our priority, and then stability and continuity to educational services. And so this will allow us to build on that stability. So by having distance learning as the solid foundation, then bringing the students in the afternoons for additional in-person support. When we get it stable, and we can slowly over time then start to increase back the in-person instruction and decrease the distance learning over time, so to allow for that stability. So we're not boomeranging back and forth. So if for some reason a teacher cannot be in person, now the students will be back online for anywhere from 3 days to possibly 2 weeks. This would allow for more stability, and then we would slowly increase the in-person time and decrease the distance learning time to secure that stability of learning for the students.
Any questions?
I mentioned that once we have a stable program, then we can start increasing the hybrid time and decreasing the Zoom or online distance learning time. But we feel that with this schedule, we would be meeting the needs of all students because all students will continue with the same type of instruction that they have now, which is, it is really working well for some of the students and the teachers, and as disruptions to the students' learning. Doing it through Zoom and taking baby steps as we continue to increase the time for hybrid.
Sounds good.
okay. Thank you very much, Karina.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
So that's the overview of where we are, kind of with that phased approach. So we went over the small cohort
Groups, bringing them back for special ed programs, then looking at preschool and elementary. Next board meeting will bring you the high school schedules and the overview of that program.
All right, thank you. All right, our hearing session. Having no one. Reports and communications, board member report. Dr. Guth.
Good to be back. I have nothing to report.
Honey?
I have nothing to report.
Martha?
I have nothing to report.
Mr. Burton?
I just want to say it's been a pleasure and honor to serve with you guys. Wish you the best. And, if things change for me, and I'm still around, I appreciate all of you, and I learned a lot from all of you. And you will be nothing but the best. Yellow Jackets. You know what I'm saying?
All right, thank you. All right, and the superintendent's report.
Received a letter approving our learning continuity and attendance plan. We got accolades from Riverside County Office of Ed for the promptness of the plan and meeting all the requirements. So I just wanted to do a shout out and thank you, Lois, for doing such a good job with that plan. Also wanted you all to know that we congratulate Dr. Edwin Gomez. He has been appointed as our COE superintendent effective this month. And he will remain for the remainder of the term until 2022. And want to just say that we're going to miss Sam Burton and really enjoyed getting to know you, and best of luck and thanks for all your service. It's a big responsibility to be a board member, and really appreciate your service to our community and to our district.
All right, our fiscal update report, Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent and community. Don't have a lot to cover in the fiscal update. I'll be up again a couple more times later to discuss some other items related to our department. The first interim period ended on August 31st, so we are now in the process of developing the interim report, which we will bring to you guys on December 15th, and it'll give you a pretty good idea of where we're at budget-wise and how we're looking to finish the year and the subsequent 2 years. And I just want to not only remind the board, but again, any community members who are listening, if you have not submitted a lunch form to the district, or you know someone who has not submitted a lunch form to the district, and we would really, really appreciate that information. As stated at a previous board meeting, those lunch forms in particular help the district determine its unduplicated count, which translates to additional revenues for the district. And given the challenging economic environment that we're in, every little bit there helps. So if the school, makes an effort to reach out to you for support with the lunch forms, we just want to ask that you support us in that way, as it is very, very beneficial to the community. And that is all I have for now.
Thank you. Reports of associations. We have no reports this evening. Our consent items. Items listed under the consent calendar motions are considered to be routine and are acted on by the governing board in one motion. There is no discussion of these items prior to the board vote unless a member of the board requests specific items be discussed and or removed from the consent agenda. It is understood that administration recommends approval of all consent items. Each item from the consent agenda approved by the governing board shall be deemed to have been considered in full and adopted as recommended. Martha will read our consent items.
L1 minutes. L2 personal report number 20-21-07. L3 approval for donation Fondumont, California LLC. L4 approval for consultant services contract with Brent Cooper, DBA El Paseo Children's Center, Independent Educational Vocation Evaluation.
Call for a motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Action items. M1, approval to accept Omnia Partners equipment bid for information technology solutions and services. Contract number 2018011-02. Call for a motion?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? M2, approval of purchase and installation agreement with Clean Core. Call for a motion?
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? M3, approval request to purchase instruments for the elementary music program.
Second.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? M4, ratification of 2020-21 Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century Act. Call for a motion? Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Discussion and information items. N1, information, status of the electric buses. Mr. Sanchez?
Good evening again, everyone. I just wanted to report, and it's I don't know how that incorrectly got on there. It should be CNG buses. But I am happy to report that last Thursday, which I think was October 29th, the district received 3 brand new compressed natural gas buses. They're down at the FMOT yard. We have the first preventative maintenance inspection. A couple little things we got to do with the CHP to get them on the road, but they're here. They're gorgeous, and we appreciate the California Department of Energy for supporting our district with those buses. They didn't cost us anything. And they're giving us additional monies to support the city's CNG infrastructure project. The total grant award was $995,000. The district may come out of pocket about $38,000, but in the grand scheme of things for what we received, that is a wonderful deal. So I just wanted to share the great news with the board. And if you have a moment, feel free to stop by the yard and check them out. They're very nice.
I just had one thing. There was in the past for electric buses, that's why I had brought this up, because I know the CNG, but there was also supposed to be a grant for electric buses. That just
So when,
scale.
well, when we applied, we initially, I think, tried for electric buses, but when we send the route profiles to the Department of Energy, their analysis stated that it would be better for us to go the CNG route, just based on the heat. The heat is hard on electric batteries. There's just aspects of our community that made more sense to do the CNG. So it was actually at their direction that we switched from the electric to the CNG. And I think it is the same program, just depending on your profile is what they give you.
All right, you want to stay up there?
Are those buses, do they run on blue gas?
They run what? I'm not sure how the gas looks. I just know it's compressed natural gas is what I know. It's the same natural gas that comes out of many of our stoves. And it comes from the Southern California Gas Company. It goes into this compressor machine, and whatever gets pumped into the bus is ultimately what fuels that fire.
All right.
So our next discussion information item is information and update regarding notice of proposed award Energy Conservation Assistance Act.
Okay, so another update I have is the solar energy loan update. We received word, it's probably been a couple weeks ago now, that we are eligible to receive the 0% interest loan for solar power. I provided the board with a series of slides that kind of provide a summary of what we hope to accomplish. At this point, we're not under any obligation, so if the board at any point doesn't feel comfortable pursuing or proceeding with it, we have not yet reached the point of no return. On the first slide, what I did was I gave you guys on the far left 5 years worth of the payments that we made to Southern California Edison. In 15-16, it was almost $785,000. In 16-17, it was almost $730,000. In 17-18, we paid just north of $762,000. In 18-19, we had $825,000, almost $826,000. And then last year, it went down to $700,000. And I think part of the decline for last year is we implemented the LED project, where we swapped out a lot of our classroom lighting with the tube lighting, and we put in LED. And then the other thing is we shut down mid-March, April, May, and June, which would have realized some savings for us by not running the classrooms at full capacity. So the bottom number, the 1920, in any normal year might have been a little bit higher. The project is going to benefit specifically Felix J. Appleby and the Palo Verde High School. And so off to the right, under that image, I put the annualized cost for Felix J. Appleby, which in 1920 we spent $94,000, and at the high school we spent almost $198,000 on electricity. And remember, 1920 is an anomaly year because we didn't finish out the school year, so it would have probably been a little bit higher. Based on an amortization schedule of 20 years at 0%, our approximate annual loan payment would be about $150,000, and that equates to about $12,500 a month, which is much, much lower than what we pay normally for electricity at Appleby and the high school. Now, that doesn't mean that we will save all of that money. It's important to note that solar doesn't work at night, so whenever the sun goes down, we will be drawing power to run the night operations from Edison, and there's a period of time in the morning, actually at dusk and dawn, where the system has to transition from the Edison to the solar and then vice versa. But if you go to the next page, it says approximate savings amount, FJAES. We worked with a consultant who helped me submit the application. And what I want to call your attention to is the far right column, which I've highlighted in yellow, the cumulative net savings, and that's year over year. So at Felix J. Appleby, the projection is that in the first year we would save $15,000. In the second year, and this is cumulative, we would save $31,000. So it's not 15 plus 31. In the second year, we would save 31. In the third year, 48. And if you go all the way down to the 20 years, we would save about $532,000 on electricity at Appleby. And this table on the second slide page or the third slide page shows, or rather includes also the operations and maintenance expense associated with the project. So all of that is calculated in to the final savings analysis. If you flip over to the next slide, it has the approximate savings amount for Palo Verde High School, and that actually comes out much better for the district. First year, we saved $21,718. Second year, the cumulative savings is $45,727. And by the time you get to the end of the project, the projected savings is $862,396. So when you combine that with Appleby, the projected savings at Appleby, it is rather significant. And then the last slide just has other considerations. The operation and maintenance costs include twice a year cleaning and diagnostics. You'll notice in year 15 there's a budget for replacing the inverters as required by the program. The 0% interest rate gives us positive savings from year one, which isn't always typical with a solar program. Usually solar companies will use the energy escalation rate to show favorable payback. Even if the current rates never increase, we're net positive from the outset. And again, that's because we have no financing charges associated with the project. And then the other consideration is that the shaded parking is a nice feature for the campuses. So in addition to the economic benefits that we expect to achieve from the program, there are other non-economic benefits, I guess, related. Like I said, I think the community would like, the covered parking would be, wonderful here, the way the sun just beats on us. And again, at this point, we're not yet obligated at all, but I'm just trying to kind of keep you guys updated as we go. The last correspondence I received from the Energy Commission was just asking some clarifying questions about whether this project would require us to take down trees that have been around for a while. Do you have trees that are 25 years old or older that we would knock down? The answer to all that is no. They wanted to make sure that the property that we are intending to build the parking structures on has been used as a parking lot for the prior 2 years, which it has. We've had our parking lots in place for years. And what they were getting at is trying to find out if there were any CEQA hurdles, environmental hurdles. And the long and short of it is the way the program is designed, we don't expect to run into any environmental hurdles. So it should be pretty smooth sailing. And again, as I find out more information, I'll bring back to the board to update you guys. But at this point, are there any questions?
How much input, how many dollars does the district have to put up to construct these?
Ideally, nothing. The loan, we asked for $3 million, and we have to pay back the $3 million. So at the end of the day, the district will put up $3 million, but stretched out over 20 years. And again, when you look at how that will offset our energy bills, it shouldn't really have too much of a net cost. The savings is projected at $862. So you're looking at the net cost to us is probably going to be about $1.5 million, $1.6 million. But when you stretch that out over 20 years, we'll pay that easily in the electrical bills. If you took 20 years worth of electrical bills for Palo Verde High and for Appleby, it starts to make sense. Because the other thing, as noted on the first slide that has content, is we can reasonably expect that electricity costs, the kilowatt rates are going to continue to climb, whereas our solar costs, minus the maintenance things, are pretty well fixed. So again, as it gets more real, and we have to make decisions that we can't turn back from, I'll be sure to try and give you the best analysis that I can as far as how the paybacks work and the break-even points and all that good stuff.
Realistically, you're saying, even though 1920 was a low energy year for us with the closure, you're at 300,000 in cost there. So realistically, you could pay it in 5 years.
It makes sense.
Versus your savings.
Mhm.
I know, like I said,
Yeah.
know there'll still be bills of
Right.
some, but
We'll-
it's hard
we'll
to
still
imagine
be-
the bills are going to be that.
In talking to the consultant, we'll have months where we'll probably have a bill to Edison, but then there will also be months that it will result back in credits to us. So it just kind of depends. But in Blythe, we have more sunlight than probably anywhere on Earth, and we haven't even put our toe in the water with solar. The other thing too is over the past 10, 12 years, we've taken a lot of steps to make ourselves more efficient. The Climate Tech project was helpful with that. The LED swaps was helpful. So I just feel like, we're kind of in a prime, kind of time to implement this strategy if the board so is inclined to do so.
How about like a maintenance? Do they have like an agreement for maintenance as far as them coming out to clean them, to take care of them if something breaks?
Odds
Or is
are
that
we
gonna
would.
be taken care of by us.
Odds are we would set up probably, at least in the near term, I would think we would have to set up some sort of maintenance contract for somebody who really knows what they're doing to come out and do the cleaning and the maintenance. Now, with that said, as we progress through the years, it may be possible, as our guys become more familiar with the system, may have to go do little things and tinker with it. We can train them up, and ideally, I'm not saying we'll never escape, a maintenance contract, but I do believe that we could grow to the point where our guys get more proficient with the system and can probably help out with things. But especially in the near term, I do see a maintenance agreement, which is factored in. The costs of maintenance are factored in. Yeah.
Buyer beware.
Right.
I can tell you why. Two instances that I've been aware of in this district, and it always said we're going to save. And there's two companies that came in, and you mentioned one, Climate Tech. What they promised did not happen. The other outfit that came in was called Energy Management System, that promised savings, and it didn't happen because things were not factored into these systems, like maintenance costs. As the system gets old, maintenance costs increases. So your kilowatts that you're going to save on the reducing kilowatts, it's going to be less. Prices go up. We can't predict what they're going to be up. I just want you to be aware that we've been through this. We got I don't know what to say, but it took advantage of people that are not aware of the consequences. But there are places out there that says, be alert when you do solar panels. Be alert. You may look into there's places where you can go and be alert to what can happen. Because when you're talking about 20 years, 30 years, those panels after 20 years would probably be worthless. I just want you to beware, and that's what I want to see, is that when we go forward with this, I think it'd be a good idea. I'm not saying no, but we just got to be aware because, after energy management system and climate techs, we just got to be more aware of what's going to go on in the future.
I agree with that, and I do agree with you that by the end of the 20-year period, we may have nothing but salvage panels. But for me, the hope is that within that 20-year period, that it made financial sense, so that when we get to year 20, we've gotten our payback and then some. And if we have to go back onto the grid, then that's what we're facing at that point. Or if we decide to revamp the system, if we go down that road, we'll have that option too. But again, if there's anything about this process that has you uneasy or unsettled, just communicate that, and I will do my best to get you the information that will allow you to make the decision that you feel is best for the district.
Yeah, that's how we're asking for before, that make sure that we don't leave anything out of the loop, like maintenance costs.
Right.
Like I said,
Yeah.
and other things that,
Right.
training, and when consultants come in or contractors come in to service, every year the price goes up
Right.
so we just have to be aware of these
Right.
additional costs that we're not seeing.
I agree.
And we're not gonna be around here that's gonna take this cost, somebody else is, but I've seen it happen in the district at least
Right.
twice.
Right.
Okay?
Is it also possible to get some extra funds because it's like going green, like doing the solar panels? You know how sometimes would
Like-
that give us some incentives?
In a commercial, like in a private, private sector kind of thing, there would probably be some tax credits and things like that, but we don't, not for us, it wouldn't be like that. But 0% is great. I mean, when you're talking $3 million, I mean, the interest savings on that is ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, yeah.
It's a great idea.
Good?
Thank you. All right. N3, discussion, intent to purchase Ganon box tractor and 40-foot boom lifts.
Okay, it's me again. May have mentioned this to the board in a previous meeting, but we're getting closer to wanting to make this decision. So if I've come back before, we just want to come back one more time, make sure we're communicating to you guys what our intentions are. But what we would like to do, with the board's permission, and it's not something I don't think I'll bring back to you in the form of a proposal or a bid or anything, but what we're wanting to do is purchase a Ganon box tractor and a boom lift, ideally about 40 foot. And the barn is kind of what's driving this need. The Ganon box tractor would be helpful to maintain the driveways and the roads across the district. I mean, it can be used for a variety of purposes, but we've invested a lot in the barn into making sure that the water goes, where it's supposed to go. And as we start using that thing and vehicles are in and out of there, they're going to start putting grooves in the road and, and ruts and things like that. And then pretty soon the water's going to, stay stagnant in puddles here, puddles there, maybe runs off in directions we don't want. And so, the idea behind purchasing the Ganon box tractor is to help us grade and maintain that road constantly, so that the water does what it's supposed to do. And then beyond that, I mean, we have other roads behind the high school to maintain. If we need to dig something and scoop dirt, I mean, we have the need for a larger tractor. Now we do have one right now, and I think I mentioned this last time. It's not quite as tall as we would like it to be. Like, we also have a dump truck. Is the most common example I've been given from them is that the existing tractor that we have is not quite high enough to dump in that bucket into the dump truck. And so the tractor that we're wanting to purchase is larger and more comparable to work with our existing dump truck. And where we're at as far as like budget wise, we're looking for like a not to exceed maybe 40,000. We actually found one in Lakeside and they were asking 35. We were probably going to offer somewhere in the area of 28. I mean, that's kind of where I want to live, about 28,000 if I could with it. So just wanted to get your guys' feedback on that. And then separately, but kind of related, is the idea of a boom lift. The same thing, the barn has high ceilings, and there's going to be maintenance, that maybe a light goes out, or maybe pigeons or something make messes, or we need to get them out or something like that. Touch up paint, a variety of things we can see using the lift in the barn, but it will also assist us with every year we bring a company from outside to help us with trimming with our tall trees. We can forego the use of that company, use the lift to do our own trees. So we see areas where it benefits us, replacing pole lights outside. We've had to rent a lift, I think, already like 3 times this year, and we've spent $2,000-$3,000. It feel like, for sure, at least one of the times, I think it cost us about $3,000. And so if we keep going down this road, it just, again, makes sense to have a lift. And then budget-wise, we're kind of in the same area there, you know, probably not to exceed 40, but trying to stay somewhere closer to 28 to 30. And so I just, before we, you know, make that move, wanted to bring the idea to the board and then get feedback before we proceed.
I think it's a great idea. I do know that when you're, like you said, you're renting those things, they can cost a lot to add up.
It does.
So, I mean, in the long run, it's gonna help for us to have our own.
The routine restricted maintenance account has sufficient budget for at least one of them, and quite possibly both. But I don't see it being anything that's going to wreck the budget. It's something that, you know, we were kind of talking about last year, so we've kind of planned for it. But again, we didn't want to do anything without, you know, without getting some sort of blessing or authorization.
Yeah, I don't know what a Ganon box tractor is.
So it's ultimately it's a tractor, and it has the bucket in the front just like any other tractor. But the Ganon, it's like a scraper, like a big box scraper that goes in the back. I'm not real familiar with it.
But I mean, if it's a name brand, then you're gonna.
No. I don't think it's. I think the Ganon box is the.
That's an name, okay.
The Ganon might be a name brand in the sense that whoever made that box maybe was named Ganon.
Yeah, like Caterpillar or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
it's just an implement that goes on the back.
Okay.
And it somehow, you know, it scrapes and does what it's supposed to do.
I just.
Yeah,
I didn't know what it was. Really.
I think the tractor that the specific brand that we were last looking at, I think was a Case brand. Yeah. And again, I'm not sure if that one's still available, but that's about what we were looking for.
The reason in the past that we never bought a boom lift, and the reason why contractors normally rent a boom lift, because the certifications and the training required to maintain one is high.
Okay.
And so you leave that to the guys who rent.
To the experts.
To the experts, because educators tend to leave out, for example, your lift at the transportation is not being certified, and it's supposed to be certified every year. That is one reason, so think about it. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea. I'm just saying think about it, because there is a cost and a high cost that if something fails on that lift 40 feet high, the liability is there. That's why a lot of us never bought a lift and rented it, so that liability doesn't fall on the person who owns it.
Okay.
Or on the person that rents it.
I appreciate that.
It's a liability.
I know, I appreciate you saying that, and that's something I'll have Steve, maybe we call around and kind of see how they deal with that. But I do thank you for letting us know that.
Yeah.
It also, I think, Milton, becomes a workers' comp related issue, so that's something else to check on when
Right.
you're talking about a boom lift.
Right, okay. So proceed with caution on that one, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, okay, fair enough. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, thank you, guys.
All right, any other business?
I just want to say thanks for the chocolate chip cookies.
All right. Any future agenda items? Meeting adjourned. Next regular meeting Tuesday, December 15th.